Look out again. Stafford's going to get sacked back at the 15-yard line.
Rush is coming. Burrow tries to avoid it. Cannot. Burrow dropped again. It's an onslaught.
Wentz faking the handoff. They're under pressure. Barely gets that. It's intercepted.
Man rush. And that's going to be picked off at the 24 by Byard for the touchdown.
What is going on, Titans Nation? Titans Universe here, finally back with a video, and I'm going to be capping the preseason. I'm going to be doing some stat predictions in this video, have a little fun with it, give my opinions of some players, hype us up for the coming season. And the first thing I want to talk about is Malik Willis. In these preseason games, I've definitely seen some flashes of what he can do, but it's clear that he is not ready to be a starter in the NFL yet. Even though he's really good with his legs and he does have a really good arm, you can still see him being clueless in the pocket at times, holding on the ball for too long. And yes, this offensive line was terrible in the preseason, but there were some times where he could have got a pass off, but he chose to hold onto the ball and hesitate. And that's why I think he should sit for at least a year, learn the playbook, learn the fundamentals, get his mechanics right, learn how the NFL works and everything about it. But as of right now, Tannehill is the clear starter. I wouldn't want it any other way. And if Tannehill goes out and has an MVP candidate season, he might be a starter next year as well, so we might be talking about Malik Willis years down the road, maybe like 2 years, at the very minimum a year from now. And that's kind of what Malik Willis is. He's a project. You gotta work with it. You gotta be patient. I've seen some people in the media saying that Malik Willis should start this year, and that's throwing him into deep waters, and that's gonna hurt the team. And yes, he did show some really exciting things in this preseason. He had a 43-yard run in the last preseason game. He had a great deep ball in the first preseason game. He only threw one interception. That's a really good plus side. And I myself am excited to see a player like Malik Willis, such flash, such excitement, be on the team and actually bring more eyes to the Titans in the future. But as of right now, it's obvious that Tannehill is the clear-cut starter. And the thing is, this season, I actually think Tannehill is going to have his best season. There is a lot on Tannehill's shoulder. He has the biggest chip on the shoulder in the entire NFL. He's got a rookie behind him. He's got a lot of people doubting him. He's got a lot to prove from last playoff game. I think Tannehill is going to come out and have a Aaron Rodgers or at the very minimum an Alex Smith type of season where he's going to show that last year was a fluke. There was a lot of injuries, a lot of stuff he had to deal with. The thing is, it doesn't matter how good he plays. If he doesn't play good in the postseason, I still think they might go with Malik Willis because they're just trying to find that push. Alex Smith will get you to the postseason. Alex Smith played great, but they went with Patrick Mahomes. He got them that push. They won a Super Bowl. So I think they might do that. So Tannehill's going to have to play good in the postseason if he wants to keep being a starter. Now that I've got that addressed, let's talk about Traylon Burks. He had 3 catches in this preseason. He did show some flashes of A.J. Brown. That touchdown was pretty cool. He was wide open. I do think he shows a lot of heart. I do think that he has better upside than what he showed first practice. People are already writing him off at that point, which I think is ridiculous. I think he might actually be a decent wide receiver this first year. And all he really has to do, it's a rookie season. Some people forget, rookies don't really perform that well in rookie season because you got Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and, A.J. Brown. But I think 600 yards, if he just goes out there and gets 600 yards, that's a pretty good season for a rookie. And I think he can afford to get that less amount of yards because I think Robert Woods is going to have a better season than a lot of people think because I think Robert Woods is going to surpass 1,000 yards. Robert Woods actually did more in this one preseason game than most of the wide receivers. Was already catching the ball by Malik Willis' second throw, and he made a really good catch. And I really think if Robert Woods stays healthy, he's going to be a really good rack receiver. He's going to be someone that could consistently move the chains. I think this season, Robert Woods is going to be the wide receiver that makes us be like, wow, I guess we could afford to lose A.J. Brown because Robert Woods is going to perform relatively well. My biggest concern about this season is the offensive line. I think it's going to take a step back this year, and I think that the run game is really going to take a step back this year. I think a lot of people expected Derrick Henry to get at least 1,800 yards this season to 2,000 yards, which is pretty crazy to expect a running back to consistently do that. But I feel like Derrick Henry is also going to get less carries because last year he got so many carries, he was injured. So I think they're going to be pretty cautious of that. So definitely don't think he's going to get the amount of yards he's gotten the past years. But yeah, there's a lot of things, question marks on the offensive line. We have a rookie starting in the offensive line, Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. I don't think Reddens is any good. He definitely hasn't showed that he was any good. I still think that the Titans are going to perform well with this offensive line, but it's definitely going to take a step back. But I want to move on and give some stat predictions. I'm going to give some stat predictions on the offense, and maybe a little bit on the defense, some players that I really think are going to ball out. The first person I want to talk about is Derrick Henry. I said that he's going to take a step back this year, but I think he's still going to have a really good year for a running back. I feel like he's going to have 1,400 yards, which is really good, but considering it's Derrick Henry, some people might think it's pedestrian. It's just how good he is. So yeah, 1,400 yards, 19 touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns. Still a pretty big year, and he still might lead the NFL in rushing. And he's still going to be our main powerhouse on the offense. Next one I want to talk about is Ryan Tannehill. I feel like Ryan Tannehill is going to go out there and throw around 3,900 yards. He may even eclipse the 4,000 yard mark. And I also think he's going to throw around 32 touchdowns with like 4 rushing touchdowns. Moving on to the wide receivers, obviously I think the leader of the wide receivers is going to be Robert Woods. I think he's going to eclipse 1,000 yards. I say around 1,080 yards. 10 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a good rack wide receiver. I say he gets at least 80 to 90 racks. And the next wide receiver is obviously Treylon Burks. I say he gets around 750 yards, 6 touchdowns. Have a really decent season on him. And I think Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is going to be a really decent number 3 wide receiver. I see him getting like 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Have a real breakout season for him. I also think that Austin Hooper is going to make a big impact. He's going to have like around 600 yards, 6 touchdowns. And then the rest of the tight ends and wide receivers are going to sprinkle around their yardage. And that would give Tannehill his 3,900. Along with Derrick Henry, actually, I didn't mention it. I think he's going to have like 300 receiving yards to 400 receiving yards. I think he's going to have a bigger step this year in the receiving game. I know he was really trying to implicate that into his game last year, but got injured. So I think he's going to really step up this year in the receiving game. All right, let's talk about some defensive players that I'm excited about and want to put some stats on. I think Jeffrey Simmons is going to be top 3 defensive tackle this season when it comes to stats. I think he's going to have 11 to 12 sacks this season, have a couple of forced fumbles, and maybe even a touchdown off a fumble recovery. I already think he's top 3 defensive tackle as of last year, but I think he's really going to make a big case this year and solidify that. I also think Christian Fulton as a cornerback is going to have a Pro Bowl type of season. I think he's going to be really good in the coverage. I think he's going to have a good amount of interceptions, so like 4 or 5 interceptions, and he's going to show that he's top 10 corner in the league. And obviously Kevin Byard's going to get his interceptions. He's probably going to have like 2 sacks, 6 interceptions, 5 interceptions again. He really is the best safety in the league in my opinion. I think him and Amani Hooker are going to be the best safety duo in the league next year. I think Amani Hooker is going to have around 4 to 5 interceptions. I think they're going to have a combined 9 or 10 interceptions. I think Harold Landry is going to take a step back, having like 7 or 8 sacks. I think Denico Autry is going to have around 5 or 6 sacks. Bud Dupree, I give him around 4 sacks. So the front seven is going to take a step back, but they're still going to be pretty good. I honestly think the secondary is going to be really good this season too, with Caleb Farley, Elijah Molden, Roger McCreary. I think they'll all at least have 2 interceptions at least. But yeah, that is all I have for this video. Let me know your stat predictions in the comments below. And if you liked the video, make sure to like and subscribe. This has been Titans Universe signing out. Peace.